I'm with Terry Madonna this morning, Franklin and Marshall pollster, also social science, political science professor at Franklin and Marshall, author, columnist, sought-after commentator. With all that, Terry, I mean, that could be the whole segment, but this has been some week when you look back politically, and the galvanization around Joe Biden has been really interesting. Talk about coming back from the political dead. South Carolina, he wins, and after that, everybody jumped off the ship, and Joe Biden is what's left against Bernie Sanders. Really interesting dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's virtually unprecedented. Remember, a week ago, Joe Biden's candidacy was dead in the water.
Yep.
I mean, he was literally pinning all of his hopes on South Carolina. And what happened in South Carolina is that he didn't win by 5 or 10 or 15 points. He won by 28 points, picking up a huge percentage of the African-American vote, and that's about 60% of the electorate in South Carolina. And afterwards, then, the floodgates were open. I mean, think about it. Look, Mayor Pete got out. Senator Klobuchar got out. Both of them endorsed Joe Biden. And all of a sudden, the center-left and the establishment Democrats rallied behind Biden, in a sense, as the last person standing.
And of course, Mike Bloomberg entered that parade, too, on Wednesday night. He got out as well, but he really never got started.
Right. But after Super Tuesday, that's right.
Exactly.
So what happened in Super Tuesday is the former vice president wins 10 states.
Mm-hmm.
And most of us expected he would win the southern states, Virginia, North Carolina, Alabama, the southern tier, largely because of the huge presence of African-American voters. I thought he had a chance to win Texas with 228 delegates, but I didn't hear a single analyst say that Joe Biden would win the state of Massachusetts.
One of the things
remember,
go ahead. I'm sorry, Terry.
No, Elizabeth Warren comes in third in her own state, and this is important. What Joe Biden was able to do in Super Tuesday by winning Minnesota, winning Maine, winning Massachusetts, was broaden his base beyond older voters and African Americans to include suburbanites, particularly college-educated women. So Biden's appeal has broadened. And then the last point I'll make is this. The establishment Democrats and the center-left have they literally have two reasons for what they've done by coalescing around Biden. Number one, they think that if Bernie Sanders is the nominee, Donald Trump can beat him.
Mm-hmm.
And if Bernie Sanders is the nominee, that down ballot, when you're talking about congressional elections and state legislative elections, that they will get drubbed. And so that's basically the bottom line. They really galvanized around Biden in almost an unprecedented fashion.
I saw somebody on my Facebook page this morning, and they said, well, we want to get decency and honesty back in the White House. And I wrote back, I said, well, let's face it, there's always been lying. Lying has become part of it. Anybody remembers President Obama saying you can keep your health care, you can keep your policy, you can keep your, all that kind of stuff. You can keep your doctor. I said, but, that's part of it. But I said, of all the people that we would galvanize around, why Biden? Why not a Klobuchar? Why not a Buttigieg? Why not totally around Bernie? And one of the things that we come back to, and I know being a history or a student of history, you've seen this too. I think we come back to something that's happened with the Democrats. They have become a very unsmiling bunch. You look at the Democrats over the past bunch of years, and every time you see them, they're dour, their faces are turned down, except for one guy, Joe Biden. Yeah. Joe Biden comes off, and the likability factor, I don't care who you are, he's got it. He's got it in spades. Your thoughts?
Yeah, you can disagree with him, but you can't dislike him. I couldn't agree more. And I do think that voters, going back through the history of what I do for a living, the fact of the matter is voters do want to like the person they're voting for. They want to identify, in a sense. And again, you can disagree with Biden's position, and trust me, he's gaffe prone. He doesn't get expressions out properly.
Can't remember the declaration now and then, things like that. But
and Super Thursday. But in the last debate, I thought he performed quite well. And then after South Carolina, when he spoke to his supporters, it was one of the best speeches he's ever given.
Mm-hmm.
So what he's got to do is create a sense of passion, a sense of enthusiasm. That's on the personal level. And then secondly, on the issue level, he needs a vision.
Yes.
Voters want to cast a vote when you're talking about the president for somebody who has a vision about where they will take.
And can he enunciate it in something better than broad generalities? And I think, without getting too specific, but at the same time, not just the broad generalities that everybody says. And I think your point is really well taken. Terry, always good talking to you. Thank you, my friend. And I look forward to our next podcast very soon.
My pleasure. Thanks for
Have a great week. Terry Madonna here on WSBA Morning News with Gary Sutton. You can listen to it weekday 6 to 9 on News Talk 93.9 and 910 WSBA.